My friend Sandra and I have known each other for over 20 years. We're 32. Sandra's getting married to Andres, and I'm married to Ian. Some relevant information. Andres and I originally come from the same country and even the same region. We share many characteristics. We both have very round faces, deep brown eyes, long straight black hair, etc. If you didn't know better, you might assume we're siblings. I met Andres 6 years ago and introduced him to Sandra. He proposed 2 years ago. I own a beautiful property in my home country that I was ready to lend to Sandra and Andres for their wedding. My property is like a finca and has 10 rooms. Usually I would rent it out for weddings at a somewhat higher price, but I was happy to give it to them at no cost, with the conditions that they hire their own catering and have their guests strip their beds when they leave. The issue. 3 months ago, Sandra became reclusive. She wouldn't answer my text, and we didn't meet up. 2 weeks ago, she appeared at my door with Andres. They sat us down, my husband included, and she said she suspected my daughter was actually Andres' biological daughter and requested a paternity test for peace of mind. I was so shocked that I couldn't say anything. My husband lost his temper and raised his voice, telling Sandra that she was stupid. Sandra pointed out that my daughter looks like Andres. I explained that Andres and I look alike. She kept shaking her head, saying my daughter would look more like my husband and not like my exact copy. The evening ended poorly. I agreed to the test if they paid for it. The results came back last Friday, showing that Andres was not the father. We also did a test confirming that my husband is the father. Sandra cried and tried to hug me. I told her I didn't want to and didn't want to be friends with her for the time being. She kept saying her worries were justified and commented that women from your country are more likely to do that. At that moment, I was filled with anger. I told her she could forget about using the venue and that I didn't want her in my life anymore. She started crying, but I made her leave. Her mom and she had been texting me, saying that they can't find a new venue. I still said no. 20 minutes ago, Sandra called me sobbing, saying that the wedding was off because of me. Am I the idiot? Should I have let her use the venue at the usual price, or was what I did okay? Not the idiot. The wedding's off because she was an insecure, jealous friend who accused you of cheating on your husband with her fiance because she was delusional as crap. She then dared to try to hug you. She then dared to be racist when you stuck up for yourself. She then dared to try to use your place for her venue. She then dared to cry and beg you. She then dared to blame you for her doomed engagement falling through. And yet you're the one asking if you're in the wrong? No, just no. Enjoy your newfound peace without her in your life. The lion, the witch, and the audacity of this witch. She also brings her mother in as a flying monkey. Also, Andres is dumb as heck too. Why even entertain this idea if he never slept with OP? Why would he want to continue the wedding after her accusation? If I was Andres, I would have run for the hills. He was probably tired of the random BS and wanted to see the woman he thought he knew crash and burn. It's like how you can't stop watching a train wreck or a soap opera. I'd guess Andres denied the accusation. Sandra didn't believe him. She kept haranguing, and Andres finally said, "Fine, let's go prove it." He planned to break up with Sandra and wanted to be vindicated first. I might be wrong. But if I was a normal, sane person and wanted to make sure my crazy fiance couldn't trash me or my friend about this supposed infidelity and potentially really damage the marriage of said friend, I'd make sure she exposes her own crazy to others. I would get proof that the accusations of infidelity are totally without merit at the same time before finalizing a breakup. I feel like the wedding's most likely off because Andres is angry about the affair accusation. If losing the venue is the only major issue, you postpone or reschedule at a different place. You don't cancel the whole thing. OP, the wedding's off because Sandra's a darn moron, not because of you. I, 25, and my husband, 31, have been married for almost 3 years now. Everything's going well in our marriage, but when it comes to my birthday, I feel a bit odd. I love the fact that he puts effort into buying me gifts on special occasions, like our anniversary, Valentine's Day, birthdays, etc. But I feel like I'm an idiot for disliking the majority of the things he gives me. A couple of months ago, we were talking with my husband about the new iPhone 15 Pro Max I'd like to have. I have an iPhone 12 Pro Max right now. He asked me repeatedly why I wanted the iPhone 15 Pro Max instead of the smaller iPhone 15 Pro. I replied with, I don't know. I'm just used to bigger ones. And I always watch all my series and YouTube videos on my phone, so the bigger screen is more useful to me. So when I feel that my current phone is dying, I'll buy the newest one on my own. By the way, I hate watching TV because I move a lot in the house by doing household duties, so bringing the phone with me to continue watching my series is more useful to me. He insisted that it's a bit ridiculous to want the bigger phone, but that's how I feel. It is what's more practical to me. Fast forward to my birthday last weekend. I had a really fun birthday with my whole family, and everyone enjoyed the barbecue. After I blew out the candles, I received some cute gifts, and then my husband came up to me with his. He handed me a cute little box he had wrapped, and after opening it, I realized it was an iPhone Pro, not the Max. I was very happy because he obviously wanted to give me something I wanted. I hugged him and gave him a thank you kiss. However, when we came home, he asked me if I didn't like my gift. I said I did. That's when he said, I know you wanted the bigger one, but when I was at the phone mall, I was searching for the Pro Max, and that's when I saw this little one. I held both phones in my hands and thought that the little one was more practical due to the difference in size, which fit better in my hand. The seller also told me that wives with a Pro Max are likelier to keep a Pro Max rather than switch to smaller sizes. I didn't care. The smaller one fit better. I still don't understand why you want the bigger one, so I got you this one. I was silent for a minute. I just smiled, thanked him again, and went to the bathroom to shower. I don't like my gift anymore because of this weird explanation and the fact that he bought it because he felt it fit better in his hand. I'm the one who's going to use it. I don't know, it's odd to me, and I haven't used the new phone I got because I like my current phone much more. My husband doesn't talk to me and calls me ungrateful. Am I the idiot? Next time he wants a PS5 for his birthday, buy him a PS4 and tell him it didn't make sense to overpay and they're both the same. Otherwise, he won't learn. Not the idiot. I had a therapist point out that when someone gets you a gift you specifically say you don't want, you're not ungrateful for being unhappy. They're the idiot for making your gift about them and not you. I had this happen with a necklace. I gave my ex a few screenshots of pendants that I liked at a store. He came out with something very different because I like this one. Cool, but I like the one I sent you, which is why I asked for one of those. It's so frustrating to set the bar so low that they just have to step over it, and they still decide to kick it along the ground in front of them instead. Lady, I was prepared to call you an ungrateful idiot. Still, if he really said all that, he intentionally bought you the wrong gift because he knows better than you. He's the idiot, and his ass hattery splashed all over your birthday gift. OP, this must end for your own and your husband's good. Let him know. I'm sorry, honey, but I'm changing the phone to the one I wanted. I know you mean well and don't intend to make me feel smaller or stupid when you think you know better than me about my very self, but I do have my own taste and criteria, and I can't help but say, I don't like this phone. Since what you want by gifting me things is to make me happy, you'll be happy that I get what I really want. Well, I'm sure there's a better way to tell him this, less passive-aggressive, but I'm mad, and this is the best I could do. I, female 30, and my sister Lisa, 26, grew up in a modest family. Our parents had a very small sum to contribute to college tuition and no money saved up for our weddings. They're still working because they can't afford to retire. I went to college on a scholarship and held a pretty good job. I had my wedding last year. It was intimate, but very nice, a bit expensive, and my husband and I paid for it. My sister's engaged and wants a nice wedding like mine, except she never went to college, holds a job as an assistant in a shop in the mall, and her fiance's in construction. They can't afford a wedding like mine. She asked my parents for help, but they couldn't help. They're still paying off the mortgage on their home. She asked me, and I gave her $3,000 as a wedding gift yesterday, which she may use for the wedding. She called asking when I was going to send the balance amount, and when I said this was it, she was mad at me, telling me how it wasn't enough for her dream dress, how she needed way more to have a wedding like mine. I told her this was the gift I was willing to give her. She said it wasn't fair since I had money. I do, but everything I have is earmarked for my needs. I told her as much. She called me a cheap witch and hung up. My parents called me disappointed that I wasn't helping my sister out more since this was all she had in her life. I told them a wedding wasn't a necessity and she should hold one that she could afford, not rely on me. They're also mad at me now and apparently thinking of taking another loan on their house to finance her wedding. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And honestly, spending a lot of money on a wedding when you don't have the means is financially irresponsible. You aren't obligated to help your sister, but even if you wanted to, it would make more sense to contribute to a down payment for her house or something useful in the long run. Man, the narcissistic entitlement of some people. Her sister's one Class A example of one. Her parents are in second place for also expecting her to pay for an extravagant wedding compared to OP's. I have no sympathy for people like that. Sister would be better off holding a small, unconventional, inexpensive wedding and saving all the money she gets for a down payment on a house. But no, my special wedding. As a betting man, with the way she acts and with her attitude, I give that marriage 5 to 7 years, max. Yeah, this is all wild to me. My brother also has a high-paying job, and if he gave me $3,000, I would be ecstatic. Plus, what's meaningful about a wedding is the people and having fun. A dream dress, a fancy venue, overpriced, subpar catered food, and guests the bride and groom barely know? That's not what makes a wedding. Weddings have become some narcissistic arms race about some Instagram fantasy of pretending to be rich people. OP, she'll probably want a car like yours, a house like yours, and for her kids to be educated like yours too. Her endless demands probably make you regret the generous $3,000 that you gave her. If you all agreed to give her the wedding she wants, she'd probably bankrupt both you and your parents. People with the queen for a day mindset tend to forget that the emphasis is supposed to be on the marriage, not the one-day party. My husband, 60, and I, 55 female, have been married for 1 year. We dated and lived together for 10 years. Before him, I was married for 25 years and have 2 adult children. I lived on my own for 6 years. He married late in life and had a son late too. He was married for 8 years. He's always been a good dad and cared for his ex, 58 female. I do help her run errands and stuff because she has many health problems and is the mother of his son, 22. He even still goes to her house to help her with maintenance, yard work, and random tasks. She's battled cancer, 2 knee replacements, and recently a fall that resulted in a broken pelvis. While in rehab, he took her coffee and her favorite donut every morning. Sometimes he'll even take her a plate when he makes me dinner. She struggles with balance and can't stand for very long. I'm perfectly okay with all of this. I'm secure in our relationship. There's absolutely no animosity between me and her. I've tried to encourage them to have a positive relationship for the benefit of their son. I've managed my money well, have good credit, and have a number of credit cards. His name is not on any of my accounts. I have a small savings account and a 401k, and I will eventually receive my pension. Financially, I'll be okay in retirement. We don't have a home, but we rent a nice home in a great community. He sends me his part of the rent, then I pay it. He's asked me to pay for things for him, but he doesn't always follow through on the repayment end. We both have cars. Mine is paid off, and he's making payments on his. This week, he said his payment got lost by the bank, and he'll make it up the next payday, as the account he has doesn't have a record of the payment. That's when he suggested we combine accounts. At first I said, yeah, you can put your paycheck in my account. Then he asked if I was going to put his name on it and get him a card too. I paused and said, probably, but not convincingly enough. He could be better about managing his money, and he's still paying his ex. I don't mind that he helps her because it comes from his money, not mine. He has his bills and I have mine. Mine are all on time, and he's late on all of his. Recently, his son needed money, and my husband offered him $600 to cover it. My husband then asked me to lend his son the money on the promise that it would get paid back within 6 months. It is now almost 2 months since, and no repayment has been received, but I did get an excuse as to why he, the son, can't pay it back. I do feel it would be easier to manage our household finances if we were on one account, but he's not forthcoming about how he uses his money. The idea of sharing a checking account makes me cringe. Am I the idiot for not wanting to add him to my account? Not the idiot. You said it yourself that he's not great in the financial aspect. You should keep your separate account from his. And if he wants to open up a joint account where you'll be able to monitor his irresponsible spending and bill paying, then that's okay. Putting him on your account makes it seem like he'll just start spending without your consent. You already can't trust him to pay back the $600. The excuses will only grow larger, and you'll only lose out. Also, considering him being already irresponsible, the payment didn't get lost. He just didn't pay it, and he wants to fall back on you. As soon as I got to the part where you mentioned your ages and how long you'd been married, it was a hard no for me. I didn't even need to read the rest. Trust your gut. You've been around the sun a few times. You know how to make good decisions for yourself, OP. My sister's going on vacation for a week soon and isn't taking her toddler daughter, Elise, with her. My sister still lives at home with me and our parents, and normally, they would be the ones to look after Elise when my sister's out. However, they're working the week that she'll be away, so they aren't an option during the day. My mother approached me recently and asked how I'd feel about looking after Elise during the week until they arrived home from work. I told her I wouldn't want to because I have no idea how to look after a toddler and don't want to be with her for that length of time. She said that was okay and didn't mention anything about it after. She must have told my sister because she pretty much stormed into my room and asked me why I didn't want to look after Elise. I told her the same thing I told my mother, and she started crying to make me feel bad by asking me why I wouldn't want to spend time with my niece if I loved her. I told her I didn't care what she said because I wasn't doing it, and she said I was selfish by not doing this after everything she's done for me, and that she's stuck for a babysitter now because of me. I just told her she should have thought about that before booking a vacation, and she left. Am I the idiot for refusing to babysit my niece while my sister goes on vacation? Not the idiot. You're exactly right. Not wanting to be responsible for a toddler all day long for a week straight, if not more, seeing that you live there, makes perfect sense. And it doesn't mean that you don't love your niece. It's transparent. The entitled sister who's highly dependent on her parents wants to go on vacation and doesn't understand why others aren't willing to bend over backward to make that happen for her. She's a parent. Lining up an appropriate and qualified sitter is solely hers and Elise's dad's responsibility. Who the heck is your sister to just plan a vacation when she has a child to care for and expect her family to just take that on? She's an entitled idiot for trying to dump her toddler on you. Using the old classic line, "You would want to spend time with your niece if you love her," is the go-to manipulation tactic used by the truly selfish. My daughters make $25 an hour nannying. One sits beside a pool, reading for hours at a time, while the kids have swim lessons and swim club. Then they all get lunch at the snack bar. They also get $100 a day to dog sit. Sis needs to pay up, or take her child with her, or leave it with its father. If she leaves the child trying to force you to babysit, call CPS and report her.